is me, Favour. So yeah, I've already like yesterday I didn't do any video. I don't know why, but I did some video in TikTok. Yeah, so I've already started like putting videos in TikTok there and just doing it, just writing like what I learned from what I did and all those other things there. So yeah, that's what I've been doing since. That's what I've been doing so far, and I'm grateful for that. Like truly, really happy to do that. I'm happy. So today, what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be recapping, like checking and like how do I say, we're going to go back to everything we did, everything we learned, go back to the principles that we have written out down, and then go back to the principles that I've written out down. Then from there, we'll now like begin to, you know, write the connections that we have for option A and the ones that we already know already. Let me rephrase that. What I'm trying to say is that I am going to what I've learned, like what I learned today. I will now have to now connect it to the ones that I know before. So what I was trying to okay. So as I was saying that I was going to connect the principles that I learned, then connect it to the ones that I know before. So that was what I learned from Polymath, from the Polymath's Dark Whisper 888. Is it no 333? Yeah, that YouTube channel is so good. I like that channel so much. You know, it's really nice. The YouTube channel is a really nice channel. So let's begin. Let's start. Let's just start with it already. And I'll be starting now. Mm. Oh, I just ate this morning. When I just woke up, I just began to eat. Listen, listen. Let me first recap what I ate. Going to this component. Just like following this component that I wrote out down. When I wrote down is a teach it back method. Before you move on from any significant concepts in any domain, you study, you write an explanation of it as if you were teaching it to a smart person who knows nothing about the field. No jargon, no borrowed complexities, plain language that forces you to actually understand what you just encountered. Go back if you cannot teach it in plain language.
It's like a do not disturb setting for your mind, and it gets you focused in just 5 minutes. Using science and sound, Brain FM guides your brainwaves into an optimal state for productivity called neural phase locking, which lets different parts of your brain work together more easily. Compared to average music, Brain FM actually increases and sustains your focus over time, letting you stay in the zone for as long as you want. You can also use Brain FM for relaxation, meditation, and even sleep. But don't take our word for it. Join millions of others and try it yourself for free and see what you get done with Brain FM. scientifically validated by AI, from a trending product database, from one of the top vendors. Introduction. The crow of synchronicity, the inescapable calling. Stop your hand. Stop your breath for a single moment. Do not look away nor pass by believing that your trivial will has brought you here. You believe in the blindness of your monotonous days, that your hand has moved out of pure boredom, seeking a fleeting pastime to numb the emptiness that throbs in your chest. But in the vast and dark fabric of existence, chance is only the excuse of cowards and the consolation of the ignorant. What ordinary men call coincidence, the ancient initiates recognized as the unshakable law of the vibratory echo. The world you step on is not a chaotic stage. It is an immense and silent ocean of forces. It is an immense and silent ocean of invisible forces that responds with terrifying precision to the silent cry of your own consciousness. If this message, if this forbidden title has appeared before your eyes at this precise millisecond of your life, it is because your soul emitted a signal of desperation or of absolute hunger. You asked for a way out. You demanded an answer that the masses could never give you. The universe, in its cold and mathematical obedience, has simply moved the threads of fate, using the mirages of this plane to put this naked truth exactly in your path. It is not a suggestion. It is an inescapable calling. You have been summoned. What you are about to hear is not docile philosophy to comfort the weak, nor empty hope for those who enjoy their role as victims. This is the knowledge reserved for the few, the hidden doctrine that has been guarded in the shadows to protect it from the profanation of the mediocre. By hearing these words, you are crossing a threshold. You are crossing a dark threshold from which there is no possible return. If you decide to leave now, you can go back to your leaden sleep and pretend you were never here. But if you decide to stay and allow this voice to penetrate the halls of your mind, you must know that you are signing an irrevocable contract with your own destiny. Ignorance will cease to be your protective shield. Once the veil is torn away and you contemplate the nakedness of the laws that govern the material world, you will be condemned to the responsibility of greatness. Assume the consequences. The crow of synchronicity has croaked at the window of your spirit. The heavy door of initiation has opened wide. Enter if you dare. Chapter 1. The leakage of attention and the forge of radioactive magnetism. Where your gaze rests, there flows your spiritual blood. The world is a feast of thirsty shadows waiting for you to give them the breath of your life in exchange for a moment of empty entertainment. Ancestral wisdom. There is a silent, perpetual and devastating robbery being executed in broad daylight, before the eyes of all humanity. From the moment the sun rises on the horizon until the night covers the fields, ordinary men and women walk through life with the veins of their spirit wide open, bleeding drop by drop in the streets, in the squares, and in the intimacy of their own chambers. It is not a shedding of physical blood, nor a theft of silver coins. It is a plunder. It is a much deeper and more definitive looting. It is the vampirism of vital energy, the relentless flight of attention. Civilization has been indoctrinated to believe that attention is a simple cognitive process, a mechanical function of the brain that allows us to focus our sight or hear a sound. We are taught to watch foreign tragedies. We are taught that listening to the herd's gossip or consuming the world's scandals are harmless acts, simple pastimes to kill the boredom of dead hours. This is the most colossal and poisonous lie ever conceived to keep humanity on its knees. In the sanctuaries of forbidden knowledge, mental alchemy dictates an iron law that makes men tremble. The law is, attention is not a passive act. Attention is a literal, dense and quantifiable emanation of creative force. It is the prana of the Eastern sages, the vril of the initiates, the fluid of the ether. Your attention is the conduit through which your soul feeds matter. That on which you rest your gaze receives your immortality. That on which you stop your ears, and that to which you give the focus of your mind, instantaneously receives a direct transfusion of your own immortality. In this chapter, we are going to close the wounds through which your power escapes. You will learn to recognize the laws of the outside world that feed on your energy.
Mastery is near. You will master the cruel and necessary art of tactical apathy. You will discover that, by seeking the fissures of your attention, vital energy will accumulate inside you until you become a radioactive colossus, endowed with a magnetism capable of bending the will of the earth without moving a single muscle. The forge begins now. I, the parable of the lotus pond. To illustrate the blindness of the man who wastes his vital energy, we must travel to the ancient teachings of the desert monks, who knew the absolute value of silence and containment. Old scrolls tell that in the center of a remote oasis lived a hermit in care of a sacred pond. Its waters were not common, they were pure and crystalline. They possessed the virtue of making the most beautiful and fragrant lotuses bloom. The beauty of the flowers granted unshakable peace to whoever contemplated them. The secret of the pond resided in its depth and its stillness. It was fed by a small and fragile underground spring, but the hermit had built a perfect stone wall around it. Not a single drop of water escaped into the desert. All the energy of the spring accumulated in the center, creating the pressure necessary to sustain the life of the lotuses. One day,
Have you tried a ton of different spiritual techniques and energy healing modalities, but there's still one or more areas of your life that just won't cooperate?
life of the lotuses.
Let's check it first.
That was so close. Go! Teamwork is the dream. Secretly. Yes! There's no chance for you. No chance. No! No, lovely. More. Who else will kill them? Kill. Oh, man. We fight together. We fight together and forever. Be careful of that head. No! He pressed someone. Oh, guys, leave there. What is this thing? We have to fight. Sorry. Ruby, stop. Yes, yes. Go, go. Get out of here. They came back again. How is this? Leave me alone. No. How? No. No. better or less? Mm. Mm. Wait, wait. Mm. Yes, please. Yes. Where is Star? Oh, that. No. Claimable, please be a character now. What? Which one's a character? Not card. What will I use? What will I do a card? Ah, go. Hmm. Okay. I don't know. Wait, choose. Hmm. Hmm.
Oh my god, this is so funny.
Honestly, wow. What are you saying? What are you saying? Yes.
Oh my god, that guy is so funny.
Mommy, I'll just go and watch some videos. Yes, the bird. Look who's here. So good. Yeah! This is my Ew. Mm-hmm.
Marvin, go to daddy's room so you can watch all this thing there. Yeah, Nadia, I told you to go to daddy's room.
Enter your new phone era for less when you trade in your phone with 3.
With our sprint delivery service, we can get this over to them in as little as 20 minutes. No?
Simo Farah. What an honour. Actually, I've got to get back to the job.
Yeah, me too. See ya. Bye.
Sprint it in as little as 20 minutes. Order on the app today.
Love Roblox? Earn Roblox digital gift cards with Microsoft Rewards. Sign up for Microsoft Rewards and earn points for your everyday activities when you search on Bing, play on Xbox, and use other Microsoft products. Get started today.
Oh, okay.
Sustain the life of the lotuses. One day, a young traveler arrived at the oasis. Seeing the beauty of the pond, he felt the impulsive desire to share that water with the rest of the world. The hermit warned him that the water of the sacred spring was limited, and that its purpose was to nourish the flowers of inner wisdom, not to water the sterile sands of the outside. But the young man, moved by a false compassion and constant restlessness, ignored the elder. He took a chisel and began to make small fissures in the stone wall. He opened a crack for a thread of water to run towards some dry brambles. Then he opened another fissure to wet the dust of the road, believing that this would appease the heat. Later, he opened another hole to feed the insects that passed by. At first, it seemed that the pond had plenty of water. The young man felt proud of his generosity. However, weeks later, the underground spring could not compensate for the multiple leaks. The water level in the pond began to drop dramatically. The pressure vanished. The mud at the bottom was exposed to the scorching sun, and the magic lotuses, deprived of the volume of water necessary to sustain their stems, withered, dried up, and died. When the young man returned to contemplate the oasis, he found no flowers or peace. He only found a hole of dry mud, and those brambles, roads, and insects to which he had given the water remained exactly the same. Sterile brambles, dry dust, and ephemeral creatures that returned not even a shadow of gratitude. He had destroyed the source. The feast of fools and the invisible pleading. Observe with terror and lucidity how you repeat, day after day, the tragedy of that young traveler. Your physical body houses an underground spring of inexhaustible creative energy, but of a precise flow. That energy has been given to you with a single divine purpose: to make the lotus of your own greatness bloom and to forge your empire. It is given to elevate your consciousness and endow you with a magnetic gravity that orders your own universe. But instead of building a wall of silence and containment around your mind, you take the chisel of morbid curiosity and begin to open cracks in the fortress of your skull. You wake up in the morning and open the gates of attention. Before having cultivated your own spirit, you open the floodgates of your attention to the tragedies of the world. You pour your vital energy onto the news of distant wars you cannot stop, onto the crimes of the city, onto the scandals of men and women whose lives lack all nobility. You hand over your flow of ether to empty entertainment. You hand it to the noise of the market and the miserable opinions of those who live in the mud. You believe you are only observing, but in the realm of hermeticism, to observe is to feed. That which you look at, you nourish with your own life. The material universe is a hungry kingdom. Tragic events and social dramas are the dry brambles. They are etheric parasites that lack their own light, and to exist, to stay alive in the collective consciousness, they need to feed on the emotional reaction and sustained attention of millions of voluntary slaves. Every time you feel indignation at a corrupt ruler, you are sending a ray of your pure energy directly to that system. Your anger does not weaken them. Your anger is a tribute, a succulent delicacy that makes them stronger, because you have given them your valuable attention. Every time you listen to the poisonous gossip of a peer and immerse yourself in the judgment of another's life, you have just opened a fissure in your sacred pond. You lose your will. The vampirism of the ether does not require that creatures of the night bite your neck. It only requires that they keep you distracted. While your attention is fragmented in 1,000 different directions, worried about public opinion, fearful of global disasters, you will never have the internal pressure necessary to materialize power. You are a giant bleeding from 1,000 tiny cuts, stumbling from fatigue before noon, wondering why life is so heavy and why your projects of wealth and nobility never bloom. They do not bloom because there is no water in the pond. You have given it all to the pigs. The leak must stop now if you wish to reclaim your throne and your light. Third, the anatomy of the parasite. The world is distraction. To seal the fissures, you must first look the parasite in the eye and understand its intrinsic nature. The outside world, in its mundane conformation, is a spectacle designed to keep you in a state of hypnosis. The existence of the masses is dominated by what the ancient occultists called the larvae of the astral. These are real forces. These are not mythical creatures of horror stories. They are energetic formations created by collective fear, anxiety, and morbidity. These forces operate through the whispers of people, the media, and manufactured crises. Their only goal is to prevent you from looking inward. They know that if man discovers his power, they lose control. A man who is the master of his own attention is a man impossible to govern, impossible to frighten, and impossible to squeeze. Therefore, the system demands your constant emotional reaction. It throws poisoned hooks at you. It tells you that you must be informed to be a good citizen. It tells you to involve yourself in foreign tragedies. The outside world demands loyalty to shared misery. Rejecting this pact is the first act of true alchemical rebellion. The sovereign understands that his greatest act of mercy and love toward the universe is not bleeding while crying for the tragedies of the world, but becoming a beacon of unshakable power. A beacon stands firm in the rock. A lighthouse does not run back and forth trying to save ships from drowning. A lighthouse plants itself firmly on the rock, accumulates all its fire in the center of its tower, and shines with such intensity that the ships find the way on their own. You do not serve humanity by being a bleeding slave. Your only sacred duty is to your fire. Favour, the art of tactical apathy and the closing of the gates. We thus arrive at the sharpest and most ruthless tool in the initiate's arsenal: tactical apathy. In the morality of the weak, apathy is a sin. They tell you that not caring about anything is a symptom of selfishness and coldness. But on the path of power, selective apathy is the warrior's shield. It is the ability to ignore the chaos. It is the capacity to look at the drama, the provocation and the din of the outside world, and decide with mathematical coldness to deny them access to the sacred chamber of your consciousness.
Creator, I'm Rob and welcome to vidIQ. Today I want to give you an overview of our thumbnail maker tool because video packaging is important and 90%
to the sacred chamber of your consciousness. To execute tactical apathy, you must become a jealous and tyrannical guardian of the gates of your mind. You must institute an obsidian filter. From this moment on, you must institute an obsidian filter between your eyes and the world. Every time information, a conversation, or an event tries to capture your gaze, you must subject it to the guillotine of an unnegotiable question. Does this elevate my empire, purify my spirit, or multiply my wealth? Or is it simply a thief? If the answer is that it is a thief who comes to steal your breath, the sentence must be immediate and absolute. You do not debate with distraction. You do not justify yourself. You simply withdraw your attention, like one who turns his gaze away from a stone in the road. Let men discuss the political climate. You will keep your silence. Let your acquaintances crawl in the mud of jealousy and mutual resentment. When they come to tell you their poison, you will stand up and leave the room without giving explanations. Let the news announce the end of the world every dawn. Your world will not end, because the keys to your destiny do not reside on the outside. You are free. The act of violently withdrawing your attention from the mundane produces a shock in your environment. At first, people will call you arrogant. They will say you have become inaccessible, distant, and cold. The parasite will writhe with hunger and bang on your walls, demanding that you return the food of your emotions. Endure that pressure. Enjoy the offense of the weak. Their anger is the undeniable proof that you have ceased to be their prey. You have sealed the fissures of your pond. The water of your life no longer spills onto the dead sands. You are accumulating the pressure necessary for true creation. The silence is your fortress, and your focus is your greatest weapon. Fear the accumulation of vril and the pressure of the forge. What happens when a mighty river is stopped by an immense concrete dam? The water, which before was dispersed gently across the plain, begins to accumulate. Its level rises inexorably. Its weight multiplies by millions of tons. And that accumulated pressure, when channeled through the correct turbine,
Welcome to the gnome. Please state the purpose of your visit. Oh, I'm just... Okay, you just have their guidance, please. Coming in 3, 2... Yes, hi, is this the party? What party? The one that's starting now? Oh, there's nothing in the diary about a party today. I'm sorry, I can't let you through. Woo! Yeah. Guys, you know what? I'm in the mood for a party. Come on, Rika. Oh, no, he's going on. Oh, come on through. We're just having a party. But I'm not usually allowed past this point. So, come on through we go. I'm not wasting your message. Liar, liar, pants on fire. I'm not liar. Yeah, I knew it. You're the reporter. You're the reporter. What? Pants. Where'd you even get my pants, bro? I have been deeply tucked away around here. What? Stop being an artist, Shirley. Liar. Get off your phone. I'll leave it very soon. If you already met Peter, we'll send you to the moon. Okay, mama, drama, I am brushing my teeth. Taking a shower, eating my beat. I'm putting some clothes on, and I am done. Let's do 30 seconds, but where is mom? Just one more surreal, and I'll spin the wheel. Oh my god, this is the real deal. Where is mom? Nothing fresh in the fridge that I'll just cook. Now blow all over. This food is so good. Mom, hurry up! Now let's pick an outfit that fits me nicely. Ooh la la, I am so spicy. I am dead by fire. I'm finally ready, Polina. Let's go. She isn't here, Mom. Karen, why are you so old? It's a sin to get ready. Polina died and I could fall. Like and subscribe. Free games online. Alright, who's the man that's gonna be the Yes! Roll. You are innocent! Alright, now 3D roll. Sling. You are Sharon! Alright, Cruz, now 3D roll. Give me murderer, what's this? Alright, who's the man? Right, before anyone says it, no, this isn't one of those quickie job apps. I've been using this app called Tester Up. You sign up for free, pick games, surveys, little tasks, and it pays real money. You're basically earning while you're sat there doom scrolling anyway, so you might as well just get paid for it. Once you hit $20, you can withdraw straight to PayPal, usually within 24 hours. Some tasks are quicker if you spend a bit in app, but you don't have to. The more consistent you are, the more money you earn. Simple. It's trusted by millions. Solid Trustpilot reviews, and it's cash, not vouchers you'll never use. Look, it's not going to buy you a Lamborghini, but $100, $200 a month covers petrol, food shops, or gym bits. Links here. Give Tester Up a go.
Is capable of lighting nations. This is the exact physics of contained attention. When you spend days, weeks, and months applying tactical apathy, when you stop spilling your energy in anger, idle lust, gossip, and fear, the vril, your vital energy, has nowhere to escape. The force that was once dissipated now crashes against the sealed walls of your own consciousness. The energy returns toward the center. It accumulates in your chest. It descends toward your belly. Your physical body becomes a high-pressure furnace. In esoteric texts, this process is called the condensation of the aura. At first, you will feel this accumulation as physical discomfort. You will feel a strange heat in your entrails. You will feel a nervous energy that struggles to get out. Your ego, addicted to bleeding, will beg you to turn on a screen, to seek a conflict, or to seek someone's approval to open the escape valve and relieve the pressure. The mandate of alchemy is endure the burn. Do not open the valve. You must tame that wild force and make it stay. You must force it to remain within the cauldron of your own being. Sit in absolute silence. Close your eyes and breathe, forcing that accumulated energy to circulate through your spine, nourishing your cells, hardening your will, and expanding the limits of your consciousness. When you keep your energy sealed, your vibration changes state. You cease to be a porous and light body, dragged by any current of air, to become a mass of immeasurable gravity. Your being becomes dense, dark, and brilliant like hematite. You have stopped giving your strength to the external illusion and have forged it on the anvil of your own throne. The pressure is the secret of your future sovereignty. As the irradiation of the initiate, the radioactive magnetism. It is in this state of divine pressurization where the most terrifying and fascinating phenomenon a human being can experience occurs: the birth of radioactive magnetism. When a man or woman needs nothing from the outside world, when they do not seek to be looked at, when they do not beg to be heard, their presence becomes lethal. When your attention rests with absolute weight upon your own center, your presence becomes lethally magnetic. Like the sun that does not need to approach the planets because its immense gravitational mass forces them to revolve around it, the initiate who has accumulated his ether alters the physics of any room they enter. It is natural. You no longer need to force your charisma. You do not need to speak loudly to dominate a meeting. You enter in silence with the calm gaze of one whose pond is overflowing with life inside, and the atmosphere densifies. The scattered, bleeding, and weak minds of those around you instinctively detect the immensity of your contained power. They feel the heat of your forge. They perceive at the most primitive level of their being that they are before a colossus who possesses the energy they lack, and without knowing why, they surrender to your will. They offer you their resources. They open armored doors for you, and they give you the gold of their chests. They are enchanted. They are bewitched by the gravitational force of a soul that has learned the art of absolute containment. Your gaze becomes a weapon of millimetric precision. Since all your attention has been concentrated, the day you decide, voluntarily and tactically, to rest your gaze on an objective, the laser beam of your consciousness pulverizes. It pulverizes any obstacle in fractions of seconds. Matter melts before the intensity of your focus, because there are no fissures through which the heat escapes. All the abundance, all the mystery, and all the majesty of existence bend before the man who knows how to keep silent. Your focused gaze is now a command to the very fabric of reality. Take awareness at this very moment of the open source through which you are pouring the blood of your spirit. Recognize the vampires around you, not with hate, for hate is also a leak of energy, but with the cold and absolute indifference of the king who closes the doors of his palace to beggars in the middle of the night. It is over. The era of giving away your immortality in exchange for the trinkets of entertainment has ended. Reclaim the command of your eyes. Reclaim the empire of your ears. Demand with a sacred cruelty that everything that demands your attention pays the tribute corresponding to the presence of a sovereign. If the world offers no beauty, ignore it. If the outside world does not offer you beauty, undeniable truth, or expansive power, offer it in exchange the tomb of your most sepulchral silence. Seal the cracks of the pond. Let the water accumulate until the walls of your body tremble under the weight of infinite power. Cultivate the lotus of greatness in the strictest solitude. And when the vessel of your attention is full to the brim, dense and radioactive, stand up. Walk among the shadows of the world, not as a frightened prey, but as the inexhaustible pit of gravity to which all the riches of the earth will be forced to precipitate. The world is now your stage. would you like your very own Shopify store? We're literally completely free, by the way. We are live streaming right now. If you click the Earth will be forced to precipitate. The world is now your stage, and your silence is the conductor of its new rhythm. Chapter 2. The Empire of Silence. The Law of Concealment and the Forging of Greatness in the Dark. To know, to dare, to will, and to keep silent. The first three pillars raise the temple of greatness, but it is the fourth, the unshakable silence, the stone vault that holds the weight of the gods. If the silence is broken, the entire temple collapses upon the builder's head. The Codex of the Black Flame. There is a tragic weakness, a vulgar and pestilential vice that condemns the vast majority of the human race to perpetual mediocrity. It is not the lack of intelligence, nor the scarcity of opportunities, nor the absence of an initial will. It is a disease that dwells in the tongue. It is the hysterical, desperate, and infantile need to speak. It is the need to speak before the time. Observe the inertial man when a spark of inspiration touches his spirit, when he conceives a plan of conquest, when he decides to forge a commercial empire, transform his body, or claim an elusive love. A sacred fire is lit within him. That spark grants him a strength he did not know he possessed at all, but instead of taking that incandescent ember, swallowing it, keeping it in the center of his chest and using its heat to feed the motor of his will, the weak man runs to the public squares. He runs to find his friends, his family, his tavern colleagues, and he opens his mouth. He speaks of his plans with exaggerated and loud eloquence. He describes the castle he is going to build with an astonishing luxury of detail. He announces his victories before having wielded the sword. And while he speaks, while he receives the pats on the back and the looks of false admiration from those who listen to him, he does not realize that he is committing a true alchemical suicide. He does not perceive that with every syllable that leaves his lips, the sacred fire escapes, cools, and dissipates into the dead air of the outside world. Weeks later, that brilliant man finds himself paralyzed, void of energy, without understanding why his motivation has disappeared, and why his great project is just a castle of smoke. In the mysteries of hidden metaphysics, the supreme law of materialization demands a discipline that terrifies the vain ego. The law of concealment. Every birth, every colossal creation, demands the womb of darkness and the protection of absolute silence. In this chapter, you will learn to sew your lips, you will discover the physics, you will discover the esoteric physics of hermetic pressure, and understand why revealing your intentions is handing over the keys of your destiny to the thieves of the ether. You are going to stop being the jester who announces his tricks, to become the silent sovereign who, without prior warning, shakes the foundations of the entire earth. By the parable of the alchemical crucible, to understand the violence with which the world destroys that which is exposed before its time, we must descend to the damp basements of old Prague, where the true masters of transmutation guarded the secrets of fire and metals. The heavy tomes of tradition tell that there existed an alchemist master of immense and very unique power. He took under his wing a young apprentice of a brilliant mind, but a vain spirit. For years the master taught him the secrets of proportions, the purification of lead, and the mysteries of the continuous fire. The day arrived when they had to execute the great work, the transmutation of dross into pure gold. The master prepared the matter. The master introduced the matter into a heavy crucible of iron and lead, and sealed it with the mythical seal of Hermes, ensuring that not even the smallest slit allowed the passage of air. They placed the crucible inside the Athanor, the sacred furnace, and lit the flames. The master's mandate was severe. The fire must burn for 40 days. The crucible must remain sealed in the heat of the shadows. If the seal is broken before the sun rises on the morning of the 40th day, the volatile essence will escape, the cold of the world will profane the chamber, and the matter will rot forever. After giving the order, the old master left for the mountains to meditate in peace. He left the apprentice in charge of feeding the fire. During the first 30 days, the young man fulfilled his labor with devotion. The pressure inside the furnace was immense. The crucible vibrated and emitted a dull hum, a song of latent power that announced the miracle brewing inside. But on the 39th day, vanity ate his will. Knowing that the next day he would become the owner of an incalculable treasure and a renowned mage, he could not bear the weight of his own secret. He wanted to see the admiration in the eyes of his old companions. He wanted to be crowned as a genius before the work was finished. That night the apprentice invited 3 of his friends. He brought them to the basement, bragged of his wisdom, and to prove he was not lying, he took heavy iron tongs. Ignoring the supreme law, he broke the seal of Hermes and slightly opened the lid of the glowing crucible so his friends could see the radiance of the transmuted matter. In that exact instant, the cold air penetrated the chamber. There was no grand explosion, only an agonizing hiss was heard, like the sigh of a ghost escaping into the shadows. The red and golden glow that illuminated the bottom of the crucible went out suddenly, swallowed by an instantaneous darkness. When the master returned at dawn on the 40th day and saw the broken seal, he did not shout. He walked to the furnace, tipped the crucible onto the stone table, and instead of the dazzling gold that should have crowned the great work, only a pile of grey, cold, putrid, and useless dross fell out. The old man looked into the terrified eyes of the apprentice, and with a coldness that froze the blood dictated his final sentence. Gold is forged only in the cloister of secrecy. The open mouth is the freezing wind of ruin. You have traded the empire of kings for the ephemeral wonder of beggars. You are banished. The lesson was final. The apprentice lost everything for a moment of vanity. Silence is the only way to protect the gold of your soul from the cold world. Tie the physics of hermetic pressure. You are the Athanor, and your great purposes are the matter inside the crucible. In the science of the invisible, all creation obeys the law of hermetic pressure. Observe the strength of water vapor. If you heat water in an uncovered vessel, the liquid transforms into a harmless cloud of steam that floats lazily and dissipates away. It dissipates without leaving a trace, unable to move even a feather. But if you lock that same amount of water in a hermetically sealed steel boiler and apply the fire of your will, the steam, finding no way out, begins to accumulate a colossal, brutal, indomable pressure. That pressure can drag a train of 1,000 tons through mountains. The creative intention that is born in your spirit possesses exactly the same volatile nature as steam. When you conceive a dream of greatness, your consciousness raises the temperature of your vital energy. If you seal your lips, if you swallow the urge to tell it, that energy has nowhere to escape. It remains inside, growing in force. By not being able to manifest in the outside world through the easy and cheap route of words, the energy accumulates inside you, increasing the psychic pressure to unbearable levels. This internal pressure is blessed. It is the fuel of the gods. Feeling that you will burst from the desire to materialize your work, you are forced to move. That same pressure will force your hands to not sleep, to work in the shadows with a discipline of steel, so that the physical achievement is the escape valve. But what does the fragile man do? He heats the water of his enthusiasm and leaves the vessel uncovered. By talking about his projects, he uses the word as an escape valve. The steam comes out of his mouth, and as it exits, the internal pressure decreases. His spirit cools down. Suddenly, the wild urgency to act disappears because the creative energy has already dissipated into the atmosphere. It has become a harmless cloud of cheap talk. To speak is the abortion of action. Force is lost in the telling. Whoever recounts his battles before fighting them exhausts the strength he needed to hold the sword. The true warrior remains silent until the enemy is defeated and the objective is won. Silence is the only wall that can contain the explosive power of your soul. Keep the pressure inside, and you will move mountains in the physical world. Thirst the false nectar and the ibrity of the ego. To truly seal your lips, you must understand what pushes you to open them with such desperation. You must look directly at the disease of the ego. The human ego is a starving beggar that feeds on external validation. It is obsessed with recognition, with the admiration of others, and with the need to feel important in their eyes. When you have an extraordinary project in hand, the ego knows that if you keep silent and work in the dark, it will spend months or years without receiving applause. The ego abhors that wait. It does not tolerate hunger. Therefore, it convinces you that it is a good idea to share your plans with the tribe, seeking false support. In the instant you tell your acquaintances that you are going to found an immense company or write a masterpiece, a nefarious biological and esoteric phenomenon occurs. Your friends look at you with wonder. They congratulate you. They say, "It's a brilliant idea, you are a genius." Upon hearing this, your brain releases a cascade of pleasure. Your body reacts exactly as if you had already achieved the feat. You get drunk on the sweet nectar of triumph, feel the crown on your head, and experience the deep satisfaction of the winner. But it is a false triumph. It is a banquet of smoke. You have given your mind the reward without having crossed the battlefield. It is a lie. The mind, which is a creature of extreme efficiency, reaches a lethal conclusion. If I have already received the respect, admiration, and pleasure of success just by talking about it, why am I going to subject myself to the pain, uncertainty, sweat, and insomnia required to build the real work? The motivation dies of starvation. The motivation dies because it already ate the dessert before lighting the kitchen fire. By speaking, you have castrated your own will. You have become the tavern jester who tells stories of dragons he has never faced, while his sword rusts in a corner. The true monarch starves his ego in the early stages of creation. He is silent. He denies it the alms of premature applause. He keeps it isolated, cold, and hungry in the cell of anonymity, so that the enraged ego, desiring glory, uses all its rage in the brutal and undeniable execution of the work in the physical plane. The king does not drink from the nectar until the head of his enemy lies at his feet. Fast he the gaze of others and the contamination of the ether. The loss of internal pressure and the drunkenness of the ego are not the only dangers. There is a darker threat that activates the moment your words leave your lips. The contamination of the ether by the gaze of others. Even if you assume those around you love you, the human subconscious is a labyrinth of silent envies and fears. When you, a man who refuses to rot in the inertia of the herd, announce you are going to jump into the void to claim a treasure, you are attacking the comfort zone of those who listen. Your ambition unmasks their cowardice. Your light threatens to show their shadows. Physically they smile, but in the subtle planes they resist you. The slave does not want his cellmate to become king, because that would force him to question why he remains chained. Therefore, while you tell them your plan, their minds begin to sow thorns in your invisible path. It's too risky, they will think. He's become arrogant. I hope life gives him a lesson in humility. They pull you. Even the blind love of a mother can be an alchemical poison. If you tell an audacious project to one who loves you but is ruled by fear, that person will worry desperately. They will suffer imagining your failure. And worry is a lead anchor. It is a destructive visualization held by the bond of love. It stops your movement. In primitive occultism, this dense force was called the evil eye. It is not about fairy tale witches. It is pure esoteric physics. Human thought emits radiation. Hidden envy, skepticism, and the fear projected by those who hear your plans adhere like a tar mist to the fragile structure of your creative seed. It poisons the work. When you break the law of concealment, you no longer just have to deal with your own fears. You have to drag the dead weight of the skepticism and cowardice of everyone you told your intentions to. The wise man does not allow the dirty soul of vulgar minds to step into his sanctuary. He covers his works with the mantle of absolute mystery. Bear the fourth pillar of the Sphinx. Approach the burning sands of antiquity and contemplate the effigy of the great Sphinx of Giza. That stone colossus was not sculpted as a simple monument. It is the guardian of the four fundamental pillars of magical power and absolute mastery over existence. The Hermetic axiom dictates four virtues: to know, to dare, to will, and to silent. To know represents pure intelligence. It is the mastery of the laws of the universe. To dare represents reckless courage. It is the audacity to jump into the abyss. To will represents the iron will. It is the unstoppable motor. Many men master these first three pillars. They are smart, brave, and tenacious, yet their works fail. They fail because they ignore the supreme mandate of the Sphinx, the fourth pillar that seals the operation: to keep silent. Silence is the unexpugnable wall that protects the other three powers. It is the dome that isolates the magical energy from the world's corrosion. The true master does not need to explain. He simply acts. The true master does not preach what he dares to do. His audacity is evident when the throne has already been taken. He does not announce what he wants. His will materializes suddenly, leaving spectators paralyzed. The Sphinx is the emblem of infinite power. Precisely because it has never opened its stone lips, it remains a mystery. It guards the secrets of pharaohs and the mysteries of stars, immutable, serene, heavy, and terrifying, in its absolute silence. He who learns to be silent acquires the density and inscriptability of the Sphinx. To be like the Sphinx is to be invulnerable to the judgment of the world. Silence is the final seal of the true sovereign. First see the forge in the darkness and the burst of the king. Seal your jaw. From this precise moment, impose a state of siege on your vocal cords. Your goals, your spiritual revelations, the money you are about to earn, and the lands you will conquer must become a secret kept under 7 lead keys in the deepest catacomb of your soul. Walk through the world of mortals with an inscrutable smile. When they ask what you are doing, respond with cordial vagueness. Talk to them about the weather, about banalities, about whatever they want to hear. Let them believe you are an ordinary man, that you are stuck, that your days pass in the same inertia in which they drown. Do not defend yourself against those who doubt you. Silence is power. Do not waste your saliva trying to prove the vision of an eagle to a fool. Accept being underestimated. Enjoy the tactical privilege of going unnoticed. Darkness is the mantle that protects you from enemy archers. While the world sleeps in the illusion of your passivity, you will be descending every night to the underground forges. There, in the sepulchral silence where no one sees you, you will unleash the god of war. You will strike the anvil with a sacred violence, without spectators, without applause, without seeking comfort. You will endure the extreme heat of the closed crucible. You will accumulate pressure until your veins burn and your eyes glow. Every majestic birth demands the solitude of the cloister. Diamonds crystallize in the suffocating blackness. The butterfly reassembles in the absolute enclosure of its silk coffin. The child forms in the mute abyss of the womb. Premature light kills creation. And one day, without warning, the seal will break from within. The seal will break not by your vanity, but by the weight of the finished work. The doors of your castle will burst open. You will come out into the sunlight dressed in majesty. The empires you forged in the dark will burst into the world with the impact of a comet. Those who underestimated you will be paralyzed by terror and fascination. They will look for some warning, some clue, but they will find nothing. They will not know where you came from. They will not understand how you managed to evade their defenses and conquer the peak without them seeing you climb. They will watch you with the silent respect granted to mysteries, and you from your throne will watch them. You will contemplate the wonder of the multitudes with a cold and lethal calm. You will not give victory speeches. You will not give explanations of your rise. Your existence will be the only proof needed. The work is done. The king has arrived. Chapter 3. Disconnecting from the hive mind and the annihilation of collective ghosts. Do not fear tyrants of flesh and blood, for their power ends where death begins. Fear the empires of smoke that nest in the sky of the human mind, for those monsters devour the soul of entire nations without spilling a single drop of blood. Unknown. There is a tragic and colossal illusion in which the human race is submerged. It is the mirage of free will. The ordinary man wakes up every morning, drinks his water, walks to his labor, and is absolutely convinced that his thoughts are his own.
When I became a dad, I realized I can't just keep ignoring my pension, because it wasn't just my future anymore. Like most people, I had a bunch of pensions scattered from old jobs, and I had no idea where the documents were. And it felt like there was money locked away that I could.
That his thoughts are his own. He believes, in the naivety of his ignorance, that the anger he feels is his own. He believes that the fear that oppresses his chest before the omens of ruin is a natural reaction of his intellect. And he believes that the passions that drag him to argue heatedly with his neighbors are the irrefutable proof of his freedom. But if an initiate, a master with cleared spiritual vision, contemplated the multitudes, if he saw them from the top of a mountain, he would not see millions of free individuals walking the earth. He would see an immense and docile flock of puppets tied by invisible threads that stretch toward the sky. He would see that those threads end in the claws of gigantic, dark, and voracious entities, formed by clouds of dense mist. These entities are not mythical gods, nor demons emerged from the underworld. They are beasts engendered by men themselves. In the doctrines of classical occultism and hermetic magic, these creatures are known by a fearsome name, the egregores. An egregore is an energetic entity, an autonomous psychic body that comes to life. It comes to life when thousands or millions of human beings focus their attention, their fear, or their adoration on the same idea. And once the beast wakes up, its only purpose is to subdue its creators to ensure its own food. In this chapter, we are going to tear off the veil of the hive mind. We will descend to the anatomy. We will descend to the anatomy of psychic parasitism so that you understand why humanity lives enslaved by its own collective terrors. You will discover the supreme art of disconnection, and you will learn to wield the guillotine of indifference to cut the threads that tie you to the mud of the masses. Reclaim your sovereign crown. By the parable of the idol of ash. To understand how men hand over their power and create their own executioners, we must open the heavy volumes of the legends of ancient Mesopotamia and remember the story of the citadel of Calin. They say Calin was a prosperous and peaceful city. One day news came that a terrible plague and an army of barbarians were approaching. Although the threat was still far away and the walls were strong, panic seized the citizens. Heralds shouted calamities on the corners, mothers cried in the streets, and fear poisoned the air. In their desperation, the high priests of the city ordered an immense idol of clay, ash, and iron to be built in the central square. They told the people that that idol, if they prayed to it with enough fervor, would come to life and protect them from evil. Day after day, night after night, the 50,000 inhabitants of Calin knelt before the monstrous statue. They cried, they screamed in terror. They cut their hands to offer their blood. They begged for salvation. And then, the unnatural happened. The statue, fed by the terror and collective hysteria of 50,000 souls for months, began to emit a deathly glow. The clay cracked and became dark flesh. The iron eyes lit up with a malignant fire. The idol came to life. But the beast did not walk toward the desert to face the barbarians. The idol stepped down from its pedestal and looked at the inhabitants of the city with hunger. To stay alive, the monster needed to continue absorbing the same energy that had engendered it, pure terror. So the idol of ash began to terrorize the citadel. It demanded daily sacrifices. It tore down houses. It roared in the night. The city of Calin no longer feared the plague or the barbarians. Now they lived enslaved and terrified by the very monster they had created with their prayers and panic. One day, a wise hermit entered the city. Seeing the devastation, he stood in the middle of the square in front of the roaring beast. The idol raised its fist. The idol raised its fist to crush him, but the sage did not shrink in fear. He did not pray. He did not flee. He simply crossed his arms, looked at it with absolute coldness and apathy, and yawned. The idol stopped dead, confused. The sage addressed the people who watched from the shadows. Fools, this monster has no life of its own. Its body is made of the same clay and the same fear that you give it. Do not fight it. Turn your back on it. Return to your trades. Sing, work the land, and starve it to death. At first they hesitated, but little by little, the men and women stopped looking at the beast. They ignored its threatening roars. They stopped offering tears. As the people withdrew their attention and their fear, the fire in the monster's eyes began to flicker. Its dark flesh dried up again. Its movements became clumsy. In less than a week, deprived of the emotional breath of the multitude, the fearsome idol became once again an inert and pathetic statue of dry clay. It turned to dust. Toes, the physiology of the collective ghost. Listen to the wisdom held in the dust of Calin, because you live today in a citadel besieged by idols, much larger and more voracious. The human mind is not a closed vessel. It is a beacon that emits electromagnetic radiation toward the ether. When a single man harbors a thought of fear or anger, he emits a small cloud of energy. When a million people tune their minds to the same thought, to the same tragic news, to the same economic panic or political hatred, those millions of small clouds converge in the invisible sky. They merge, they condense, and by an irreproachable law of esoteric physics, that mass of energy acquires intelligence and its own will. An egregore has just been born. There are egregores of nations, egregores of political parties, egregores of fanatic religions. and the largest of all in our era, the egregore of panic and scarcity, fed daily by the heralds of disaster in every corner of the visible world. Once the egregore takes shape, it operates as a parasite. Its only imperative is to feed so as not to dissolve, and its exclusive food is the vibratory frequency that gave rise to it. If the egregore was born from hatred between two sides, the ghost will extend its invisible tendrils, descend upon the minds of the commoners, and sow intrusive thoughts of distrust, fury, and bloodlust. It will force men to argue pointlessly, to insult each other, and to hate their brothers. Men will believe they are defending great ideals, when in reality they are only chewing the food that fattens the invisible parasite floating over their heads. They are victims of their own creation, feeding the beast that enslaves their logic. There's the trap of the multitude and the degradation of the soul. The greatest triumph of the egregore is to convince the individual to abandon his solitary throne to join the mass, the herd, the hive. Masters of the occult have warned for millennia about the mortal danger represented by multitudes. When a man, no matter how brilliant, is submerged in a mob, his consciousness turns off. His sovereign spirit enters a state of lethargy, and his mind is kidnapped by the inferior spirit of the hive. In the multitude, intelligence does not exist. The mass does not reason, does not reflect, and does not seek truth. The mass only feels, and what it feels is, invariably, the densest, most basic and animal emotion, panic or fury. That is why multitudes composed of peaceful individuals are capable of committing atrocities and massacres without feeling the slightest remorse. In that instant, it is not they who act. They are the physical body, the hands, and the feet of the egregore that has possessed them, and is using them to devour the material world. It is possession. The tyranny of the egregore is so perfect that you do not even need to be physically surrounded by people to fall into its trap. Today, the individual sits alone in his room, fixes his eyes on the crystals of long-distance communication, and lets himself be intoxicated by news, vulgar opinions, and global panic. He is now in the hive. The umbilical cord of the monster adheres to the base of his skull, and the vampirism begins. You feel the world is a dark place. You feel the economy will collapse. You feel the enemy is lurking. You feel exhausted, depressed, and without strength to lift your own destiny, because your prana is being sucked up by the collective ghost, through the illusion of opposition and the food of hatred. This is where the unwary traveler commits the most disastrous mistake of his spiritual life. The man realizes that the system is corrupt. He discovers that there is a tyranny imposed on his people. He fills his chest with noble indignation, raises the sword of justice, and declares war on the egregore. He becomes a fanatic. He spends his days debating.
Okay, you guys, it's time for us to now say goodbye and then see you in the next video. And I'm grateful to be here to just say bye bye, and I'll see you in the next video. Yeah, it's mostly 3 hours. I mostly do it, but I did it for 3 hours, 48 minutes. Oh, anyways, I'm still grateful. So bye.